Welcome back to the Snap Count on the Big Play Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. I am Trey Essex, and this is my quarterback and yours, Mr. Charlie Batch. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Make sure you guys subscribe to us on YouTube, Big Play Sports. You can also follow us on Twitter, and we're now on TV now, right? We got faces for TV now, Charlie. The Pittsburgh Sportsnet, if I said that correctly, channel 659 on DirecTV and 843 on Comcast. It's a lot. Well, today's show, we had a disappointing game yesterday. Some big stuff happening in Cincinnati Bengals. But first and foremost, we have a super special guest. Whenever we have an opportunity to bring in a hog, CB, you know I get hyped. And this is one of the best of all time. 9-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first team All-Pro, 2021 Hall of Fame inductee, our guy, number 66, Alan Faneca. Welcome to the show, my man.
What's going on, guys?
It's fun to have you here, brother. First thing first, you look really good, man. You don't look like you played O-line no more. What did you do when you got done?
Man, I shed that weight quick, man. I wanted to drop it off and see if it would stick. But you're right, man. Most people don't even believe me if I told them I played offensive line in the NFL for 13 years.
You've also did something that I never would ever do, and that's ran a marathon. How did you come to the decision to run a marathon? Two-part question. How did you come to that decision? And what's harder, pulling and blocking Ray Lewis or running a marathon and finishing in under 4 hours?
Man, I'm going to tell you what, those last 5 miles of that marathon are the hardest. A whole lot of coming to Jesus moments in those last 20, 30 minutes of that marathon to try and finish it. Much less, my goal was to beat 4 hours, and I beat it by a couple minutes. But definitely that was a task. When I was done, I lost all the weight, and I was like, man, I'm good. I mean, I can remember I was just starting to lose the weight, but I was still doing some lifting in the weight room. Mm-hmm. And I was doing some dumbbell bench one day, and I was about to do like a set of 8. And I'm back there, and I'm like, 1, and I started thinking, I hit 2, and then I just stopped. I put him down. I said, I went and set him down. I said, I'm done. I'm good. I'm done. I don't need to do any of that anymore. I'm just going to stop. I've lifted all the weights I need to lift. And, that was my thought at that time. But, I did a lot of that. I just did everything just to lose the weight. And that was my only sole purpose. So when I had lost the weight, I still wasn't doing much of anything, just maintaining. But my wife, Julie, decided to run a half marathon and would try and get me to do some of her training runs with her, and I was like, baby, I'm good. I'm done. I've done all that running. I've done years of that. I'm good. But near the end, I started going to some of her easy runs when she was cycling down, getting ready for the race.
That's how you
and do it. When I went out to the race, it was a race down out in Vegas, down the strip at night, which was pretty cool. But being at the race, kind of getting that like game day energy, kind of got in me a little bit. So kind of revived a little bit of those competitive juices. And the next thing you know, I started running when we got back with her. And one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I'm lined up with a couple thousand other people about to run a marathon.
I know you get to this. You got a lot of people at that point as far as at different phases of their fitness journey. What would be the Faneca advice on getting somebody started on their journey?
Man, set possible goals, man. I think so many people think a lot about like, man, I need to lose like 40 pounds or I need to lose 60 pounds, whatever it is, right? Well, don't think about the 60 pounds. Let's start with 5 pounds, right? Let's hit 5 pounds, and then let's try and hit 10 pounds, and let's hit the small goals and stay on track and remain positive instead of just saying, I think too many people are like, oh, I can't get there. I can't get to 60 pounds. And they just stop. I think that setting the small goals that you can achieve, just like, the three of us have set, through our whole career, right? We didn't just say, boom, let's just be a NFL player, right? We set goals. I want to be a starter on a high school team. I want to get a college scholarship. I want to get drafted. All those things, right? So there's steps along the way, and I think too many people get caught on the end goal instead of all the steps along the way.
So let's talk about a little bit of football here. Like I mentioned earlier, it's 20 years since Super Bowl XL. You were the unquestioned leader of that O-line, coming in as a rookie from Northwestern, not having a whole lot of success at Northwestern, coming to a Super Bowl team. like this with you at left guard, and then we had Russ Grimm. We had a lot of Hall of Famers just around there. What kind of advice would you give to a young O-line like we currently have right now as they try to get on the right foot and they try to coalesce, I guess, and get some chemistry about themselves?
Yeah, man. I think you just gotta keep grinding and pushing each other, right? I think one of the things when I think back to us back then, man, is we kind of challenged each other, we pushed each other.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of pushed the limits of what we could do, and uh, didn't let anything kind of stop us or in that way, man. And it's kind of hard to articulate or put into words, but pushing the guys next to you, the guys in the room, making sure good wasn't okay, right? We wanted to achieve as close to perfect as we could, even though we could never get it right. But let's keep pushing forward, right? Yeah, we did
Mm-hmm.
good, but what can we do better? And always thinking about how we can move the needle a little further up. Man, I think that's some of the things that we did best, and I think that's some of the things like when you come in with a young group like we have now. You got to start moving that needle a little bit. You got to start, as a group, bringing up the left side, the right side guys, helping guys out. I always thought, man, it was uh, God blessed me with a lot of talent and a great work ethic, and I always thought, man, playing the position, man, O-line, we're five guys doing one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not about me killing my guy. It's about me getting my guy and doing my job. But can I help my guy next to me? Can I help my guy on my other side? What can I do to help my guys? Like let's all get this job done. And when you start getting to that mentality and you're pushing each other and you're challenging each other and you're helping your brothers out left and right and how you can do things and see things in the game and study and watch film, that's when things start to go rolling downhill and things start really getting a lot better.
Physically, offensive lineman is one thing. Obviously, everybody expects you to push everybody off the ball and understand your assignment. The one thing that amazed me about you the first time I got around you was the fact that didn't realize the work that you put in behind the scenes with film study. Because when you walk to that line, you can look at the safeties and always project what was going to happen at that particular point. When did you realize that was a big portion of the game to help you excel to the levels that you got to?
I thought it was when I got to the NFL. You start learning more, and you start sitting in a room with a guy like Dermontti Dawson and watching what he's watching. But it really was when Russ Grimm got there, man, and he started pointing out things, and he wanted us to check safeties, and I'm like, man, I got my hand in the dirt. I got a 340-pound D tackle on me. I got Ray Lewis in my A gap staring me down, and you
Mm-hmm.
want me to see the guy that's behind those two guys and check things out. Um, but it took a little time, but to get to what he was trying to pull out of us. But it made it easier. It made it a chess match. It made it a I see you over there. You ain't coming. I ain't worried about you over there. Let's look. Let's go this way, guys. Let's work that direction. It just became a chess match, man. I love that part of the game. As soon as I got so much more involved in it, and when Ben was young, we were helping him a little bit with some of the checks or just alerting him to more things. So we had to be even a little bit more involved in some of that stuff. So it was just a chess game, and I really love that part of the game.
It's funny you brought that up, man. Coming into Pittsburgh, I had guys like you and Jeff Hardings and Kendall Simmons. And I remember looking at Marvell's notes, the notes that he took. He would write notes the entire period that we were in meetings, man. It was always filled from bottom to top. And so I learned at a very young age that I needed to be in my P's and Q's, and not taking notes was a no question in that room, looking up to you guys. And so as I talk about that, and I talk about the leadership, and talk about football smarts, and you just alluded to that earlier, about the safety rotations. I learned so much from you guys. Do you feel like that is lost in today's O-line play?
I don't know. I don't know if it's lost, but it's probably. I think a lot of things are just kind of built in, right? They don't have to. They're not as concerned about some of those things as much as the way the offense has evolved. It's the RPO game. They're just telling those guys to go in that direction, and we'll kind of solve everything else, right? We're either going to hand it off, or we're going to dump it outside. So they don't really have to make a lot of those checks. Things don't have to be as perfect as they were back then, I guess. So that is interesting. I don't know that I know the answer, but I would hope that guys are still studying the game, enjoying the chess matches that I enjoyed as well. I'd be sad if they aren't out there doing that.
And I think, looking at the game on Sunday, obviously playing the Seahawks and brings back a lot of memories for people. When you put your eyes on it from a fan's perspective now, when you look at that offensive line, what are you seeing with their play? Because they're getting a lot of slack over the first couple of weeks, not being able to get that running game going. What are you seeing as you put your eyes on it?
Yeah, I think it's a young group. I think consistency is probably the problem. They need to do some of these things we've been talking about and growing and kind of becoming that unit. I think that's just one of those things. It does take time. And, I always hated that when we had like new guys coming in and all the reporters wanted to know how long is it going to take for you guys to gel and become, you always try to play it up like, oh, we're good to go. We're good to go. Don't worry about us. But, the truth is there is a timetable on things, and things do need to grow, especially when you got a heavy young guy front like we do. You miss the wily old vets that's got all the tricks in his back pocket are really valuable and very needed. So when you don't have all those guys up there, I think it affects things a little bit, maybe slows the process down a little bit, man. I know when I came into Pittsburgh, I was blessed with a group of veteran guys, man, and every one of them took me under their wing and taught me tricks and shared their tools. And I was just really blessed in that manner. So I definitely think it'll come along as things go.
You mentioned Dermontti Dawson. Now, when I was watching film on you, there was nobody, in my opinion, who was good in space like you were. Like you pulling in on screen pass, there was no guard, I think, in the history in the NFL. Did you learn a lot of that from Dermontti?
Man, Dermontti, I can still watch film. I still don't know what the hell Dermontti did on plays that I have in my mind right now I can think of. I don't know what he did or how he did it. I have no idea, but he got his job done, somebody else's job done, and helped me, and we scored a touchdown. I don't know what he did. I honestly have no idea, man. So he is definitely the GOAT, man. People talk about centers pulling and who's the best, man. And I got to remind people, man, Dermontti Dawson was on the front cover of Sports Illustrated when that was a thing. When that was a thing, he was on the front cover for pulling for the play that he basically created. Slant 38 and 39 boss was all on Dermontti, and he was on the front cover of Sports Illustrated when that was an important thing.
One of the things that became a staple of your game is you finishing downfield, 10, 15, 20 yards downfield. Was that something that you learned from Dermontti and then just kind of, added on top of that? Where did you get that from? Because I saw what you were doing, but that carried into years later with Marquise Pouncey doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, it was always part of who I was as a player. But definitely Dermontti, he was much more like that too. And so I was like, man, I never really thought about like, man, just taking off down the field, getting a free hit. You can't do that anymore, but that excited me. So I definitely picked it up and made it more consistent part of my game. A story talking about Dermontti that I tell every now and then, man. Dermontti at the end of a quarter, he didn't just walk to the other sideline. When we flip sides, we're running 80 yards to the other side. He jogged. Most people walk.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like my first game. I was like, man, where'd Dermontti go? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna follow him, man. I'm gonna do that. And that became part of my game, man. One, I think it's a mentality thing. I'm not tired, especially when you're doing it late in the game. But it just sets the tone, I think. And so much of what Dermontti did set the tone. He was a quiet leader, but everything he did just evoked power and strength. And you wanted to follow what he was. And, from being around Dermontti, I was never the kid growing up that tried to be, player X or player Y. I was just me. And that's just how I was a kid. So, I know a lot of people, you ask somebody, man, I tried to be Joe Montana or I tried to be Anthony Munoz. I just never was me for some reason. But when I got to Pittsburgh and I was around there long enough, I said, I want to be what Dermontti Dawson is and means to the Pittsburgh Steelers, what he means to the guys in the room and the organization. That was something I aspired to emulate and be. And that's the first time I ever said that or thought that. And I remember that at the time before even people, started asking me those questions, that he was so important in what he did and how he carried himself. in the organization and in the city was something that I wanted to be a part of.
We're hoping we have another great center in our great line of centers in the kid, Zach Frazier. I think he's probably been our most consistent guy so far. But before I get to that, I want to know something. Let's talk about the running backs that you blocked for. You had to block for two completely different styles of runners in Jerome, Bettis, and Willie Parker. Did that change how you approached any given play?
You know, a little bit, right? You know, I mean, you're talking about size and nimbleness and speed and savvy. Those two different kind of combinations. You know, I'd spent so much time with Jerome. I mean, I could put my hand in the dirt, and I knew where Jerome thought he was going to take the ball before the defense even moved. So, you know, I mean, even though my job might be that I've got to, you know, scoop in here and get to this inside backer because it's a front side play and I'm on the backside. I'm like, Jerome's taking this ball backside, so I'm gonna sit heavy on this scoop. We're gonna get a little more push with Marvell on this guy, put a little bit more of a dent because Jerome's coming back here to us because that's just how he liked to run it. And I knew that for all of his plays. So it was a real comfort level for me when Jerome was in. But then Willie was so explosive and so quick and fast, and it made a lot of things easier. Also made a lot of things harder, man. All of a sudden, man, you got to get moving a little more on those outside plays. But it definitely stretched the defense and made things harder for them. But the combination of the two of those guys together was definitely a 1-2 punch for us.
And talking about the explosiveness, talking about the pulling, the one play we'll be seeing here over the next 2 months will be the play that still stands out to this day, Willie Parker's 75-yard run. Take me through the mindset of that play, setting up and then ultimately the result of the play.
Yeah, man. You know, Russ and those guys, the coaches, man, they found that weakness in their defense that they would overcompensate. So we had the check on for about 5 or 6 plays. We had the Antoine Randall over there in the slot. And we knew if we could just piss them off enough that they would slide those linebackers over. And so it was a complete setup job. Pike? Yep, counted 34 Pike. Mm-hmm. Yep. So you know, man, we were getting a little bit of yards over there, just enough so they slid. And when they slid, that meant I didn't have to get the front side linebacker, that I could get the safety, and that Max and Kendall could slide up and get the linebacker that I would normally block on that play, which put Willie in space. And that's all we wanted, was Willie in space. We said, Willie in a big hole like that, our money's on Willie to not get tackled and take it to the house, which ultimately is what happened. But, you know, when we came up and they had slid over and I get my stance and I'm like, holy shit, here we go. I mean, literally, that's the exact phrase I said in my head. I said, holy shit, here we go. But, you know, when I pulled, and I've only seen this photo, I've only seen this photo in like the last 2 or 3 years. I never saw it, but somebody got me in the photo with Willie running in the foreground and I'm in the back. And I had spun around. One, I wanted to keep my legs out of the way because I wanted that hole as big as possible, because that's all we talked about all week long for 2 weeks, right? Get the hole big. And two, I wanted to see Willie running down the sideline. This picture of me kind of just spun around and I'm looking down the field watching Willie run. Mm-hmm. And I had never seen it till about 3 years ago. So it was pretty cool to see. But, you know, you got to love it when a plan comes together. And, you know, since I've gotten in the Hall of Fame, I've become good friends with Steve Hutchinson. And the first time I told him this story about how, you know, it's just a big setup and we saw it all, he wasn't too happy to know they had gotten had a little bit.
You got a few more minutes, Red?
Oh, yeah.
We got to get to this commercial break. We'll be back with more from Alan Faneca after this break.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.
Welcome back to the Snap Count. We have Alan Faneca with us. Y'all may hear us affectionately call him Red. What is the story behind that? Where did you get that nickname from?
Well, you know, I had the red. I used to have much more red hair. So, you know, off and on, I had been called Red occasionally throughout my life. But I think it really took off when Russ got to us in Pittsburgh. And that's all he called me by was Red. So as soon as Russ starts doing it, everybody starts doing it, and it just snowballed, and that was it.
That that is hilarious. I literally didn't know why. When I got to Pittsburgh, it was just, oh, that's red over there. You just kept it moving, no questions asked.
That was it.
Can you talk to the importance of having a Russ Grimm in there as our offensive line coach? The Steelers currently have Pat Myers this third year, but before that, it was a little bit of a revolving door. Can you speak to how important that is for a young line's development to have that consistent voice, and then to have a voice like Russ Grimm's talking to you?
Yeah, well, when Russ got there, it was like, man, we got this. Everybody knew who he was. He wasn't quite in the Hall of Fame yet, but knew he was getting there. And a guy that had, put his hand in the dirt and done it at a high level. So, your ears peaked up when Russ told you something. You were like, all right, and Russ was not necessarily just giving you X's and O's and little hand placement. He was giving you, tricks of the trade, stuff that he had used. So you're getting a little bit of extra information. So all those things were great with Russ being there. I think also with guys, you could definitely get the buy-in. Some guys, you don't always vibe with your coach, right? I mean, we've all had, coaches that maybe you didn't fully believe or buy in, right, into what they were trying to get you to do. But I think when you've got someone of his stature, you automatically buy in. I think, and as a young guy walking in, you're coming from college probably. You got this new system or something you have to learn different compared to what you were at, and you need to buy in. And I think Russ gives that buy-in, a guy like him that's done that. So he definitely did that when he got there for us, and when you don't have that, it just brings up questions, and guys are turning to each other and talking and trying to figure things out. You really need that strong leader in the room to kind of control things. When I say it, it's like stone. It's done. We're going. This is what we're doing, and everybody buys in, and we just do it. And I think that's a big key.
And you all prided yourself on practicing together every single day. I mean, you truly had to be injured for you not to practice, and that was important because it got the run game going. Do you still see that happening in today's game? Or how, give me some of the tips that you would think on improving the running game from your era to what you see now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're not doing as many 9-on-7 drills that we did, and and I'm not mad at them for it, but they're getting less opportunities, so they definitely have to take advantage of every aspect of it. I think I would like to imagine that they do some inside drills with the running backs, just to go through the paces, just to share information, right? The more the running backs know what we're doing up front, the more they can see things, right? Like how I was talking about with Jerome, and I kind of knew where he liked to take the ball and on certain plays versus certain defensive fronts. They need to know the same things that how we're seeing things, right? Like, oh, this is a stress combination. I need to realize that. Maybe I can help them out with that, right? All those things play into the run game, and the more time that the running backs and the line can spend together, and even if it's just breaking down film, right? Even if you don't get the time on the practice field, right? Breaking down film, watching it together, learning what everybody's thinking when they see it up there. That's all beneficial, man. That if we can get on one page on one play, like that one play could be the game changer for Sunday.
As you look at this line, we have another 66 on there by the name of Mason McCormick, young guy, second-year guy. I think he was a fifth-round draft pick, was not supposed to play as early as he did, but did end up taking that position and is starting this year. What have you seen from him?
When you asked me that at first, I go to my kids, the game's on yesterday, and they go, Dad, who's wearing your number now? What's that about? Yeah, young guy, man, he's doing some good things in there. And, I think he's definitely growing, a lot of the same things we've been talking about with the O-line. It's a process, and you gotta just keep grinding away and keep putting things in your tool bag and keep working and grinding. And all of a sudden you kind of pop out of it one day and you don't even realize it.
Well, I know we've been talking a lot about football. I want to get back to you personally. There's a lot of things that you did when you were in Pittsburgh, and you were heavily involved in the community. Talk about some of the things that you did there and the work that you continue to still do to this day.
Oh man, I think, I gotta either blame Julie or give Julie the credit, one of the two, you know. But you know, I think it was about my second year. She came, we had a conversation, and she's like, man, we got to do something with this besides just play football. We got to you know, we got to use this for something, use it for good. So we just started getting involved with the different projects, different things. Most notably, Glimmer of Hope right there in Pittsburgh, which raises a lot of money for breast cancer research and funding and helping. And you know, we had multiple events and events that continue to go on to this day. So just really proud to have been a part of that, and do those things. And we still try to, you know, do those things. And I have epilepsy, and my oldest daughter has epilepsy, so we do a lot of things in that community. Just always trying to give back, man. I think it's so much more than just, you know, playing football and collecting a check, but you know, what can we do with it, and how can we share it and make the world a little bit better.
So the Fanecas throw one heck of a party. It was always a party we went to every year.
Hey,
all the football players look forward to it.
That was my one rule, man. The guys are gonna have fun. I'm gonna take care of the guys having fun. We're gonna raise some money, but the guy is gonna be a fun event.
Well, we appreciate your time, Mr. Alan Faneca, aka Red. Thanks for stopping by the Snap Count. But before we let you go, where do you think these Steelers end up by the end of the year?
You know, I think we're in the playoffs. I think what really happens ultimately in the playoffs is where we are that last month, right? That last month, are we trending up or are we trending down? You know, I think we're better than we've been. I think we're going to make the playoffs, but the dent we make in the playoffs is going to be what are we doing in that last month? How are we trending? Are we trending up or trending down? And you know, I think too many times of late we've been trending downward heading into that that last month. Let's see if we can trend upward, man, and start moving in a little bit direction. That way we can make a dent in the playoffs.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Alan Faneca. You are always welcome to the Snap Count, man. Thank you for your time. And we will be back on the other side of this break with the Steel City headlines.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Lake Spur Marketing, connecting your brand to the right customers. Visit lakespurmarketing.com today.
These Steel City headlines are brought to you by Fairway Chevrolet GMC. Whether you're in the market for a truck that's heavy duty, built for work, or a real head turner, Fairway Chevrolet GMC has you covered. With clear upfront pricing, unmatched inventory, and a team that works to earn your business, Fairway Chevrolet GMC is the place to go. Trucks, SUVs, great pricing, no nonsense. That's the Fairway. All right, CB. We had a very happy interview with Alan Faneca. Now things are going to get a little dark, because these Steelers did not look particularly great yesterday. But can you tell me exactly, from your perspective, you were there, what stood out the most to you?
They got dominated on both sides of the line of scrimmage. When you look at that particular, they could not stop the run, and that was something that they vowed that would change. But unfortunately, back-to-back 100-yard rushers, that's something that they need to continue to do on that side. Offensively, they need to protect Aaron Rodgers, because right now he's been sacked 7 times. He's been hit 15 times. And if you just only 15 after 2 games, he's on pace for about 140 hits. If that's the case, he's not going to last. So they have to get better at controlling the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, we'll get to the transfer report. The O-line did not show up. Probably their worst performance this year. It is their worst performance this year. Even in the preseason, they did a lot better than this. The Jets game wasn't great. You would hope that they had a bigger jump this second week, but some of the same things that were happening last week were happening this week. Did not get a lot of push up front, like you alluded to. But the thing that I think that was most glaring is, where are our linebackers at? I mean, I know they can't do much if the D lineman is getting pushed into their laps, and that's something we have to stop between Yaya Black and Cam and who's the other D tackle? Keanu Benton. Where do we fix that? I know we're waiting on Harmon to come back, but I don't know if one person is going to fix this. Where are the issues mainly with that interior, that defense?
When you look at this run defense on where you are now, if you go back and look, man, it's been bad for a number of weeks, including last year.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at just where they were at last year with Baltimore, 299 yards in the playoff game, you saw 180 against the Jets, and here you are now with the Seahawks. So that's something that, can one person fix that? Possibly, but again, he's not here. We don't know what that looks like as far as his timeline, but we can almost anticipate that it could be a couple more weeks. And if that's the case, that whoever is in there on that defensive line, again, you're losing Isaiah Loudermilk because he's out with a high ankle sprain. So you're going to have another new defensive lineman. Those guys have to control the double teams to make sure that these linebackers can flow. They're not thumpers. They're not coming downhill and they're going to now knock the socks off. Their strength of this linebacker group is speed with Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen. If they're not able to use that speed, we don't know what's going to happen. But here's the one thing that, again, we may be looking at another shuffle in that linebacker group. Patrick Queen, he took a nice shot to his ribs, and he struggled from the moment that he got hit in the ribs through the rest of the game. I know he's going to be sore the rest of this week. How is that going to impact him moving forward? So that's something I'm going to pay attention to.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mark Robinson, he's on IR now. He was the thumper, I guess. At least he showed that penchant during the preseason. Is there something that Cole Holcomb can do in the interim? Can he help this group out with more playing time?
Yeah, and he, last couple of years, he was battling injuries, but it looks like he's recovered from that very well and had a really good preseason. They spilled him in the game a little bit when Patrick Queen went out for a couple of plays, but then once he entered back into the game, we didn't see much of Cole Holcomb at the linebacker position. But to your question, yes, he can possibly be that. Obviously, just a rotation. They switch it up in that middle of the field. They have to, because they have to look to do something differently. They're giving up, 27 points over the last probably 5 or 6 games. And then here right now, they're giving up 31 points on from that defense. And if you heard Mike Tomlin or any of the sound bites that he was talking about coming into the season, he said this defense could potentially be historic. But Jerry Dulac from the Post-Gazette said it's not historic, it's more like prehistoric. So that is something
bars, Jerry, huh?
Yes, he did. So that was something that I'm sure this defense will read in those headlines. And now it's up to them to do something about it, because you're going to face a physical team as you head up to New England facing a Mike Vrabel team.
Right. You almost expect the offense to start out slow. I think we got ahead of ourselves when we scored the points we scored against the Jets, but they are a young offense with all new pieces. And so for them to get going in the right direction, they're going to need a little bit more time, more reps. But offensively, were you happy with the play calling?
Play calling was up and down. Obviously, I'm not giving them an A by any means, but again, there are some calls that are happening in there that you start questioning. Why are they doing something? If you look at that drive when the game was tied at 14 after Jalen Warren's big run, they come back with some slow design play where they're faking here and pressure happened, and all of a sudden you're negative play on first down, and then you're not able to keep the momentum going in that actual possession. Was a turnover, and they came away with no points. That's something that just can't happen. So in your mindset, you're wondering, where did that play come from? But ultimately, sometimes coaches get in their own way when they're trying to meet and come up with some creative plays when they're sitting in a room tired, rewinding film. And that may be something that you look back and that you just hope that you don't see that again. If it worked, we'd probably be sitting here saying great, but it didn't. And that's a questionable call I had in the game.
Yeah. If there was one bright spot on the offense, I really enjoyed watching Jalen Warren run the ball. Whenever he gets the ball, he looks like what we were missing last year. 2 years ago, he came into the scene, would make explosive plays. You felt like every time he touched the ball, something big and something special could happen. And he proved that again with that amazing run on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, he did. And that's what you want, the ball in his hands. And he's doing it in the receiving game. He's the second leading receiving. He's the second leader in receiving yards on this team this season. So that lets you know, okay, things aren't going well, and he has to now step his game up. Mike Tomlin was asked that question, could he do more? And Mike Tomlin said, yes, he can. So look for him to continue to have a bigger role, only because everybody anticipated Caleb Johnson to be able to now spill Jalen Warren in this particular manner, but that's not happening. So I expect to see more of Jalen Warren.
Are you concerned about the drop passes? I know DK has a documented history. I think I saw the broadcast. He averages 6 to 7 drops a year. But even Pat Freiermuth had a couple of drops in there that were uncharacteristic. Do we have a drop problem?
We're starting to, because it's starting to become a trend, right? And that's something that you just can't happen. One play that didn't get talked about, Trey, was the second pass of the game. The first one was a swing pass to Jalen Warren, but Aaron Rodgers rolls to the right. He threw that on the run to Pat Freiermuth down the right sideline. That pass should have been caught. That defender didn't touch it. That's a play that you have to make when you're trying to now set the tone of a game. And again, Aaron, he'll continue to throw at you. But again, as a quarterback, if it continues multiple weeks, you start shying away from that player and you're going to say, hey, we need to get somebody else in there. You hope that doesn't happen. You hope they get a chance to fix it. But right now, you're starting to see a trend.
Yeah, unfortunately, he had to roll out because he was getting pressured on that play. Aaron, I tell you what, man, Rodgers looked pretty nimble, but unfortunately for us, we don't need him to look nimble. That's not what he's here for. And so because of that, there are some grades that left a lot to be desired, but we'll talk about that in the trench report after this. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it in the trench report, but here, before you go on that break, remember I talked about it, that consistency up front, those 5 guys have to play together. And right now, it's just taking a little bit more time, and that's going to lead right into this trench report and your grading as you put it together.
Alan Faneca talked about it too. Consistency. But we'll be back after this break. I thought this was going to be my favorite segment today. I was hoping I was going to come here today with these amazing grades from an improvement after week 1 in the trench report. But the trench report is a little sad this week, CB. And it starts on the right side with Troy Fautanu, who graded out at a 79%. This was his worst showing today. He just wasn't great in pass protection, too much pressure. Now, don't get me wrong. Seattle's a good defense. That's a really good defense. And 99, Leonard Williams, he was the best player on the field quite often. And they had Jaron Reed, too, at 91. And so the O-line had their work cut out for him, but they needed to step up a little bit better. Too much pressure from Troy. I think he gave up 3 pressures total. So 79 for Troy. Mason McCormick, number 66, trying to step into those Alan Faneca shoes, also did not have his best game. I was a little disappointed in him. He did not get as much push in the run game, and that's where it starts. If we're going to have any success in the run game, it's going to come in an interior between him, Zach, and Isaac. And we just aren't getting the push. We're not getting to the second level consistently enough, and we're not handling the D lineman. Too many times the double team was split on some power and some zone plays, and that just can't happen. He's a young guy. He'll get better, but 78 for him. Zach, grade out the best, but still not his level or like what he's shown he's capable of. 88% for Zach. A couple of times there, he looked like a boy amongst men. Leonard Williams made him look small out there, and he tossed him around a couple of times. It was a little disappointing to see. He was solid. No bad snaps again. No pre-snap penalties. Always good base to build off of that. But he has to get back in the lab this week. At left guard, Isaac. There's something there. You want more from him. He's a vet. He's a Super Bowl champ. He's played on some really good O-line. We need him to step up because I think his performance and his leadership is going to directly affect how Broderick plays on the left side. So a little disappointing for Isaac. He did not play his best game. As we go through these grades, CB, for future reference, what I consider a solid game is 85 or above. If you have anything under an 85, that means you have some series of work to do that week. And so nobody except for Zach grade out over 85. And so on the left side, we got Broderick Jones, better than last week, but that's not saying much. He still catches too much. He was a little bit more assertive this week, which I like to see. So you want to see that arrow pointing up. So that was positive to see. But those hands, he's just not throwing his hands, and I don't get it. It's obvious on film. I'm sure Coach Meyer has talked to him about it, but he has to learn to get in the lab and throw those hands. Simply put, if he does that, he'll have a better grade next week, I'm sure.
And one of the things that I see, you talk about the run game. I don't see these guys with their hands in the dirt consistently enough for me. I think that's an issue that you in the run game for me as I'm watching it. Also, passing game, again, you have to practice together to make sure you have that nonverbal communication of knowing what the next person is going to do, feeling when that guy is going to come off, that allows you to now pick up that guy and move on to the next one. You actually tweeted out a play on the levels of pass protection where they missed the game. Explain what you were talking about in that tweet.
So, yeah, me and us as O-linemen always know or having an inkling, and this is what I was talking about with Red earlier today, football smarts. And from watching film, If you watch him, you know Seattle is going to throw a whole bunch of games at you. And what I mean by games, I mean D tackle stunts, DN inside, D tackle outside. Leonard Williams lining up at end. And so there was a particular play where it was an obvious twist look. You had a 3 technique over the guard, you had a 5 technique over the tackle, and then you had a 7 technique outside the tackle. Classic look for a game. That's exactly what they did. But because there wasn't communication, and I don't know if they took a pre-snap read or not, they were all on different levels. Aaron Rodgers gets hit. Bad pass, and that's just a microcosm of where they are right now as a group. They're young, inexperienced, and they don't look like they're on the same page. But hopefully with more reps, they will get there, and they definitely have an opportunity against another good defense. And we'll get to that preview here at the end of this break against the New England Patriots. This week's game preview is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is almost here. The only question is, are you ready? Visit FanDuel.com, big play to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Disclaimer, must be 21 plus and present in the Pennsylvania area. First online, real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Restrictions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, the Steelers opened up as 1.5 favorites against the Patriots. I'm actually surprised about that, to be truthfully honest. We know the problems with our team is obvious. I mean, what do they need to work on? I think we all know that this team is going to go how both lines go.
And it's going to go down. You know, New England is going to go out there and do exactly what the last two opponents did. They're going to attempt to run the football. They're playing at home. Hopefully the communication on their end, they feel that they could take advantage of that. But if you don't clean this running game up, you're going to continue to see this. And this is something that's really unfortunate because we're not used to seeing a run defense like this here in Pittsburgh.
And this quarterback, this second-year guy, Drake Maye, I'm a fan of. I think he's turned into a pretty good player. He runs that ball well, too. He runs just as well as Josh Allen, I think. And so we have historically had issues with mobile, athletic quarterbacks. What kind of problems do you think he poses to this defense? Can they contain him?
Yeah, they're going to probably go back and use that Justin Fields film with New York and that RPO to see if there's things that they could take advantage of there, especially since the Jets were very successful on first down. They averaged 8 yards on first down, so putting him in those third and short opportunities. That's what you want to do with a young quarterback, making sure you stay ahead of the change. So that's something that I think that they're going to utilize, and then see if there's, with the injury of Alex Highsmith not being available, to see if Nick Herbert can step up, at least from the speed perspective that Alex Highsmith brings. And right now, I don't know if you saw the run charts or not, but everything is running away from TJ right now. Mm-hmm. So Terrell Austin, defensive coordinator, has to figure out a way of moving TJ around because it's heavy away from TJ.
Offensively, can we get away? Or you mentioned that Aaron had been sacked 15 times already. And so I know the coaches know this and have to adjust their game plan accordingly. Can we win with Aaron Rodgers just being a game manager?
We can win. And just to go back, he was hit 15 times, sacked 7 on that. Okay. But I think ultimately when you look back on where he is, this is going to be something that Aaron, you look back and is he a game manager? He's more than that right now. Mm-hmm. And he can push the ball down the field. Unfortunately, we're not seeing it. He had one play of 20 yards or more. That was a Jaylen Warren prior to the 2-minute warning. And then those plays over 20 yards, there was 2 more plays that happened as we approached the 2-minute warning and then in the 2-minute warning. But again, the defense of the Seahawks were playing more of a prevent defense in that particular manner. So they have to figure out a way, because if you look back on what happened on how Seattle took DK Metcalf away, they just double teamed. They just clouded. They had a corner and a safety over top of him. So if that's the way that you're going to get him and take him out of a ball game, you got to figure out a way to move him around as well.
Right. And Aaron mentioned they played too high and played man-to-man the entire game. And so unless you get that run game going, defense has no incentive to get out of that. And it just makes life a living hell for the passing game when you got 2 high safeties the entire game. Go ahead.
Anytime you get too high, you have to be able to pick 4 to 5 yards up in a run game.
Exactly. Are we using our tight ends enough?
No. But again, a lot of that comes down because you're not getting a new set of downs. We're falling behind. And again, the first downs just aren't there. The one thing that you have to do, especially to rest our defense, you have to control that time of possession. And right now they're behind in time of possession because of the lack of running the football.
Are you concerned by the lack of sacks from TJ Watt?
I am. And when I saw the reports that said he's now 6 games without a sack, I'm just like, wow, that was baffling to me because I would never even thought that was the case. But here we are. He's close. He is very close as it relates to pressures and almost a sack. Just like when sack Jack Sawyer picked up the sack, TJ was right behind him there.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we just got to get him more involved. He's aware of it. He understands that. And right now they're going to try to figure out ways to move around because they're doing it on 3rd down. You just got to figure out what that looks like on 1st and 2nd, where he can become dominant.
Is there any easy fix for his defense? Do you see us bringing more pressure this week than we have in the past 2 weeks? Drake Maye has been sacked 7 times. So that offensive line is leaking and he is getting hit and he does tend to hold on to the ball some. Is the way to get pressure, with Highsmith probably being out for a couple of weeks and offense is targeting TJ Watt with their game plan, how do we get more pressure? Do you see us bringing more blitzes and dogs, or do you think we have the personnel to do it with just the front guys?
Yeah, the tendency is to say no because we haven't been known as Blitzburgh in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So that hasn't happened over the course of the last 2 weeks. The injuries are starting to pile up on that side of the ball. But whoever the replacements are, can they now catch up, get themselves up to speed to be ready to be ready for whatever play call is coming on that defensive side? And unfortunately, right now, I just don't see it happening because of the injuries. But again, that can change on Sunday. We'll see.
Not many things went right on Sunday, but one thing that did get right, you picked DK Metcalf to score, and he scored this week. So if you want to know some more Charlie Batch bets, meet us on the other side of this break. We got a couple more for you. Charlie Batch Bets. That's where we're going to have a segment called the Charlie Batch Bets because you seem to get these right. So far on the touchdown count, you did pick DK last week to score. Week 1, we have 4 scorers: Calvin Austin, Ben Skoranek, Jalen, and Jonnu Smith. Who scores for us this week, Charlie?
Well, for me, I'm looking at Calvin Austin again because I think all the attention is going to be on DK, and that's going to free up Calvin Austin on that one-on-one. I think he makes a guy miss, and he's going to get into the end zone for sure this week.
So I got to stick with it. I picked him the first 2 weeks. He hasn't come through yet. We have to get Darnell Washington. He did get a 2-point conversion. Mount Washington, it has been an end zone. It was for 2 points. I think he finally scores his touchdown this week. I also think Jalen gets one. I think he has a big game this week. What we saw from him this past week is letting us know, let the coaches know loud and clear that he needs to get the ball more in his hand. More him, less Gainwell. And so I think Jalen gets into the end zone, and I think Mount Washington does as well. Last one, over under 44.5. 2 weeks in a row. It's been over.
I'm going under this week.
Okay.
I don't feel comfortable about either offenses right now, so that's where I'm at.
Okay. I'm hoping that you're saying that the defense gets it in order this week and New England doesn't put up points, but we do. Just enough to be under the 44.5. Is that
correct? It's going to be under, and I think there's going to be a lot of punts in this game.
Okay. Well, Mr. Batch, appreciate you once again. Episode 8 had Alan Faneca in the building. It's a lovely day to be on the snap count.
Absolutely. Always enjoy it.
I appreciate you, brother. Here we go.